This video has been in the making for such a long time. I had no idea I was gonna make a video about this when I started this journey. Hello, my lovely people. It has been some time since I recorded a video, but I am back. The reason why I haven't been so active for the past few weeks is because I actually got a job. I realized that juggling a full-time job beside doing YouTube was not ideal and it takes a lot of work. I've just missed sitting down and talking and recording something that feels meaningful to me. It's still my passion. It's still something that I love doing. I just need to focus on some other things for now. What are we going to talk about today? Today we're going to go through some of the things that I've learned from meditating every single day for a whole year. And to give you some context, I've actually meditated a lot in the past 10 plus years. It's just that it's really difficult to be consistent when life is constantly happening. And life constantly happening is the exact reason why we should do it. For the past year, I've actually managed to do it like 99% of the days. The reason for it, for why I started, has nothing to do with like, oh, I want to be like productive and kind of seeing it as a goal I set out at the start. I didn't. I just started doing it every day and I was like, I'm taking one day at a time. And this is what happened basically. Part of my practice was also to write down a few bullet points of what I noticed during the meditation. After a while, you start seeing a pattern of what kind of emotions and thoughts you're having, and you start to understand yourself in a different way. I'm gonna get into it a bit more later, but basically why that to me was such an important part of the whole practice is because I think the whole point of meditating, or at least a large part of it, is to observe what is going on right now. It's not about changing anything. It's not about fighting the whole situation and being like, I don't want to feel this way. Instead, and this is the thing that nobody wants to hear, we're practicing radical acceptance. There is such power in learning that skill and not being in constant rejection of reality. We're so used to constantly evaluating and judging whatever is going on in our lives. And we also create a lot of stories or narratives about, just our circumstances and why our lives are going the way they're going. And I think we get so caught up in them that we just like lose touch with this inner stillness that we all have. So the purpose of writing down the notes is literally just like, what am I observing? You don't have to go into like over-analyzing or even analyzing. Just write exactly what you're feeling. So let's say you have some pain in your stomach, or your head hurts, or you're thinking about a certain friend or a certain situation. And then you just write, today I noticed that I was thinking about this colleague at work, and this is the type of thoughts I had about her. Basically, just be as descriptive as you can. You don't have to give your opinions about anything or narrate the whole thing. Like you're not writing a novel. It's just like the most plain and simple description of your experience. Unfortunately, I had to take a little break because my camera was dying. Let's get into the first thing that I learned throughout this year. Emotions are signals and messengers. It's our body's way of communicating to us that something is going on. It doesn't have to be anything negative or positive. It's just our body doing what it's supposed to do. It might be the case that we have to make big or small changes, but a lot of the times we don't have to do anything. Just be there and notice it. kind of like with a child that is in need of some validation and some comforting. And I also noticed with this that it doesn't have to be huge changes. Like if you actually have to do something about these signals, you don't have to change your whole life. Usually you just need to like lay down for 20 minutes, rest your head a little bit, or go out for a walk, talk to a friend. As I said, small things. Start with the small things. As I did this every day, I learned how to listen to my body. And I would say that I was quite good at that before as well. Like I wasn't really a beginner, but now the way I'm listening, it's on another level. Like it can't be compared to how poorly I was listening before this year. It's not really news that most people have a very complicated relationship with their emotions, and most of us try to avoid them as much as possible, but it's gonna have its consequences. This is a very good way to handle your feelings in a healthy way, not by drinking or having casual ass sex with people you don't even know. It's just a healthy way of taking care of yourself. This second one is such a mind changer. This is about going beyond all of your identities, everything that you think is your personality. I think you get to know yourself, like the core of who you are, when you're every day just sitting down and noticing every little sensation and experience you're having on this earth. It's as if like everything else falls away. You don't identify with your job, or at least not to the same extent. You do it in certain situations where you have to make sense of yourself to other people. In those moments when you're just being with yourself, spending some time with yourself, you're not going to be like, oh, I have this profession and this hair color and this identity and these friends. It's like peeling an onion. As things fall away, you're just connecting with your core self outside of all the narratives and all the identities and the personality. The third thing that I learned during this year is so empowering. And again, before this year, I did not understand the full meaning of this. Basically, you can choose your narrative. And just like I mentioned before, we get so caught up in all these narratives that we haven't really chosen for ourselves, not intentionally. And this is where the difference is, that you're now doing it intentionally. You're taking back the power to be like, this is how I want to define my life. A lot of the narratives we have also just adopted from society, from other people. Somebody might have told you when you were 10 that you're so weak because you're always crying. That's what I was told. And that kind of influences you for a very long time, unless you obviously become aware of the fact that that's how you're thinking about yourself. It's so limiting to be stuck in those mindsets and actually believe the narratives. Because then if we take the same example again, like every time I would cry, I would actually shame myself a little bit and be like, why are you crying again? You're always so like weak. You are fucking strong, even if you cry every single day of your life. The meaning of those narratives might also change when you become aware of them. It's not as if the narratives don't serve a purpose. Making meaning out of a human life is fundamental to who we are. So the purpose is not to like minimize that or subtract it completely from your life. You can choose not to let it rule everything you do. Instead, you're going to take back your power and you're going to define for yourself exactly what type of narrative you want to live by. This one might be obvious to some of you, but to me, it wasn't, because of all the stereotypes that exist about people who are meditating and are into like spiritual. You don't automatically become a calm person. I did not become a calm person. Honestly, I feel like instead, I am even more energized and quirky and just doing the most like childish things. And I'm still restless. I still need to exercise often. I still need to stimulate my brain, read a lot, do a lot of things, meet a lot of people. That's still who I am. And actually, meditating every day just like brought that out even more. It's as if I'm expressing some part of myself that was a little bit restricted. So no, the people who meditate every day are usually not the calmest or the most still and quiet. I don't have a quiet personality. I probably never will. What I'm trying to say is embrace the changes that are coming with it. So if you're feeling more energized like I did and in need of even more social activities, then you're not doing anything wrong. You're probably doing it exactly the way it's supposed to go, because you're becoming more of the expression you're supposed to have in the world. I don't want to say yourself, because then we're going back to the whole like identity thing. It's very difficult sometimes to explain these things in a way that makes sense to most people because it's so vague. One of the last things that I'm going to bring up is that I've become a lot less defensive about my opinions and my personality, and just in general about things. Like, I don't really care anymore. Like, if somebody's stating something, I might just be like, yeah, he might be wrong or he might be right. It doesn't really like affect me emotionally as much. I don't have a strong sense of I need to defend this and this. I'm just accepting the fact that this person has this view or said this thing about me, but it doesn't actually define anything. It doesn't determine how I am going to live my life or the course of my life at all. I'm just holding those situations a bit more loosely. I'm not really holding on to them, holding grudges, or deciding that, I'm going to be mad at this person for 10x years because they once said an opinion that I didn't like. There is nothing else to it, basically, than your view or this person's just like perspective on life is valid. No more, no less. Like, it has nothing to do with you're wrong, you're right. And it also doesn't mean that I can't engage in discussions about ethical dilemmas or just like political situations. I can still like voice my opinions, but it's not determining anything. I feel like this video is going to be so long. It was not my intention, but if you're still here, thank you so much. I've missed you and I'm glad we're spending this time together. I have one last point on my list of the things that I learned the past year. Now that I think about it, it's rather a confession than anything else. I need to confess that I honestly still feel like I fail at meditating every single time. So if you are meditating and you feel like a failure, you're not alone. I feel the exact same way. Unfortunately, I think this is quite normal, and it comes from a place of we hold beliefs about what it's supposed to be like to meditate, what state it's supposed to bring you into. And when that doesn't happen, which is, most of the time, we end up just like criticizing ourselves because you didn't get into this very calm and still and quiet place. You're still like raging about something in your mind. So now you just failed at this whole thing and you should not do it again. That's a reasonable conclusion, right? It's also part of a bigger picture of when we have or live by all of these expectations of how things are supposed to go, we will constantly be disappointed by people and the situations in our lives and just like life in general. It's not gonna be fireworks all the time. Similarly, meditation is not about changing your inner state. It's not about becoming something else. You are perfectly fine just like you are in this moment. And that's why you should meditate, because you're gonna notice how wonderful you are. At the core of meditation lies radical acceptance of everything that is existing in this moment. And so you're not failing, you're doing everything correctly.